Right now, inside your body, most systems are running on standby. Your blood vessels are slightly stiff, your muscles are conserving energy. Deep inside your cells, tiny power plants are working, but only because they have to. Nothing feels wrong, and that's why most people never notice what's happening. But the moment you start walking, something changes. Not because walking is intense, not because it's exhausting, but because walking sends a signal your body instantly recognizes. Some of the most important changes begin in the first few minutes, before sweat, before fatigue, before you even think of it as exercise. Your blood chemistry shifts, your muscles start pulling fuel, your brain switches state, and over time, those small reactions stack.
Today, we're breaking down 10 things that change inside your body when you start walking every day, in the exact order they happen. This video isn't about motivation. It isn't about step goals, weight loss, or turning walking into a workout. It's about what actually changes inside your body when walking becomes a daily signal. We'll start with the changes that happen first, sometimes within minutes, then move into the shifts that take days and weeks. And finally, we'll look at the deeper changes that quietly reset how your body works long term.
Before we move on, if you find this kind of science-based breakdown useful, subscribing helps support the channel and allows more videos like this to happen. Now, let's start with the first thing your body changes, and it happens sooner than most people expect. Most people assume walking starts working once your heart rate goes up, but that's not what changes first. Within the first few minutes of steady walking, your blood vessels react before your muscles feel tired and before your breathing noticeably changes. The inner lining of your arteries releases a molecule called nitric oxide. Its job is simple: tell blood vessels to relax. When that happens, arteries widen slightly, blood flows more smoothly, oxygen delivery improves. Your heart doesn't have to push harder, it works more efficiently. This is why many people feel warmer or more awake shortly after they start walking, even if the pace is easy. It's not adrenaline, it's circulation responding, and this matters more than it sounds. Flexible, responsive blood vessels are the foundation for everything that follows. Without this shift, energy delivery, glucose control, and brain oxygenation all work less efficiently. Walking doesn't force your cardiovascular system, it reminds it how to respond. But while your blood vessels are opening up, something else is already happening, and it has nothing to do with your heart. Your muscles are starting to pull fuel directly from your bloodstream. Most people think blood sugar is controlled entirely by hormones. Insulin goes up, sugar goes down. But your muscles have another option. When you walk, your muscle fibers contract rhythmically. That mechanical movement allows them to pull glucose directly out of your bloodstream without waiting for insulin to act. This happens quietly and automatically. Your body sees movement and immediately reroutes fuel to where it's needed. That's why even a short walk can lower blood sugar slightly, especially after meals. It's not because you burned it off, it's because your muscles absorbed it. This matters because it reduces stress on your pancreas. It also improves how your body handles sugar over time. Instead of sharp spikes and crashes, your system becomes smoother, more predictable. But as your muscles start pulling more fuel, your body faces a new problem. Energy demand is rising. And that raises an important question. Where is that energy going to come from tomorrow? Deep inside your cells, tiny structures are already reacting. Most people assume mitochondria only change when exercise is intense, sprinting, heavy lifting, pushing to exhaustion. But walking sends a very different signal. It doesn't say, we need explosive power. It says, we need steady energy every day. Inside your cells, mitochondria are constantly monitoring demand. When that demand becomes regular, they adapt. At first, they simply work a little harder. But with consistent walking, something more important happens. Your cells begin building more mitochondria. This process is called mitochondrial biogenesis. It's slow, it's quiet, and it's one of the most powerful adaptations your body can make. More mitochondria means energy becomes easier to produce, not just for your muscles, but for your brain, your immune system, and your organs. This is why people who walk regularly often report having more stable energy, not sudden bursts, but fewer crashes. Your body isn't trying to survive short effort anymore. It's preparing for sustained movement, and as energy production becomes easier, your brain takes advantage of that shift. Because walking doesn't just change how your body powers itself, it changes how your brain operates. Most people think walking helps the mind simply because it feels relaxing, but the effect is much more specific than that. As you walk, your brain begins releasing a coordinated mix of chemicals, including endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin. These aren't just feel-good substances, they are regulatory signals. They tell your brain that the body is in motion, not under threat, that stress responses can soften, that attention can stabilize. This chemical shift happens even during easy walking. You don't need intensity for it to begin. That's why a short walk can change how you feel mentally without changing anything else around you. Your environment stays the same, your brain state doesn't. And this matters because chemistry sets the stage for structure. When the brain repeatedly enters this balanced state, it becomes more receptive to long-term adaptation. Walking isn't distracting your mind, it's recalibrating it. And after a few weeks of consistency, that recalibration turns into something deeper. Because your brain doesn't just feel different, it begins to physically change. For a long time, scientists believed the adult brain was mostly fixed. You could change how it worked, but not its structure. Walking quietly challenged that idea. With regular movement, blood flow to the brain increases in a steady, repeatable way. Not spikes, not stress responses, just consistent delivery of oxygen and nutrients. One area responds especially strongly, the hippocampus. This region is deeply involved in memory, learning, and spatial awareness. It's also one of the first areas to shrink with inactivity and aging. When walking becomes a daily signal, the brain increases production of a molecule called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF acts like maintenance support for neurons. It helps them survive, connect, and adapt. Over time, this isn't just a chemical effect. It becomes structural. People who walk regularly tend to show better memory performance and slower cognitive decline compared to those who don't. The brain grows where it's used. But the brain isn't the only system responding now. As this adaptation continues, another change begins. One you rarely feel, but that affects almost everything else. Inflammation starts to quiet down. When people hear the word inflammation, they usually think of injury, swelling, pain, redness. But the kind that matters most here is different. It's low-grade background inflammation. The kind you don't feel directly, but that slowly interferes with how your body works. It affects blood vessels. It disrupts insulin signaling. It keeps the immune system slightly overactive. Long periods of sitting tend to maintain this state. Walking interrupts it. Regular, moderate movement helps regulate immune signaling and reduces the production of inflammatory markers over time. Not by suppressing the immune system, but by normalizing it. This is why walking is linked to lower risk across so many chronic conditions. Not because it targets one organ, but because it improves the environment all organs operate in. And as inflammation settles, another system finally starts working the way it was designed to. A system most people rarely think about at all: your lymphatic system. Unlike your heart, the lymphatic system doesn't have a pump. It relies entirely on movement. When you sit still for long periods, lymph fluid slows down. Waste products linger longer than they should. Immune cells move less efficiently. Walking fixes that in a very simple way. Each step creates gentle muscle contractions that squeeze lymph vessels and push fluid forward. No special technique, no intensity required, just movement. Over time, this improves how efficiently your body clears waste and monitors for threats. Your internal environment becomes less stagnant. This doesn't feel dramatic. There's no sudden sensation, but it changes the conditions inside your body, and those conditions shape everything that follows, including what happens in a place most people never associate with walking: your gut. Most people think gut bacteria only respond to what you eat, fiber in, sugar out. But your gut also responds to how your body moves. Regular walking lowers stress hormones like cortisol. It improves blood flow to the digestive system, and it changes how quickly food moves through the gut. Those conditions favor a different kind of internal ecosystem. Over time, the diversity of your gut microbiome increases, not overnight, gradually. A more diverse microbiome is linked to better digestion, stronger immune function, and more stable mood through the gut-brain connection. This is one reason walking often improves how people feel overall, even when diet stays the same. Your gut isn't just reacting to food anymore, it's reacting to a calmer, more balanced internal environment. And that shift sets the stage for one of the most important metabolic changes of all. Because as your internal systems stabilize, your cells begin responding differently to a key hormone: insulin. Many people think insulin resistance is something that just happens with age, that once it starts, it's difficult to reverse. But insulin sensitivity is highly responsive to signals, especially movement. When walking becomes a regular part of your day, your cells begin responding more efficiently to insulin. They don't need as much of it to move glucose out of the bloodstream and into tissues. This happens gradually, but the direction is clear. Blood sugar becomes more stable, energy crashes become less frequent, and the metabolic system works with less strain. What's less obvious is that this change doesn't only affect muscles. The brain also uses insulin. And when insulin signaling in the brain improves, it's associated with better cognitive function and long-term brain health. Walking doesn't force this reset. It allows it. And after enough consistency, when these systems have had time to adapt, the final change begins. It's not tied to a single organ, it's tied to how your entire body defines normal. After enough days of walking, your body stops treating movement as an event. It starts treating it as an expectation. Energy systems adjust to assume daily demand. Blood sugar regulation becomes smoother by default. Sleep timing stabilizes. Stress responses soften faster. This is no longer about individual benefits stacking up. It's about recalibration. Your body quietly shifts its baseline, the level it considers normal. You're not pushing against resistance anymore. You're working with a system that now plans around movement. This is why walking eventually feels less like effort and more like alignment. Not because it gets easier, but because your biology has adapted to support it. And this is where most people misunderstand walking. They see it as optional, as something mild, as something interchangeable. But walking isn't just an activity. It's a biological signal your body was designed to receive regularly. When that signal is consistent, your body doesn't fight it. It reorganizes around it. So when people ask why walking matters, the answer isn't calories, it's communication. Every step tells your body something about the world it's living in. That movement is required, that systems need to stay flexible, that energy should be available, not hoarded, and your body responds the way any adaptive system would. It improves circulation, it manages fuel more efficiently, it stabilizes the brain, it reduces background stress, not because you forced it to, but because you reminded it how it was built to work. If this breakdown changed how you see walking, you can support the channel by liking the video and subscribing. It helps keep these science-based explanations coming. And now, a question for you. Which of these changes surprised you the most? The ones that start in minutes or the ones that quietly reshape your body over weeks? Leave a comment. Someone reading it might be closer to starting than they think.